Look at me! Look at me! Huh? What do you want? And what are you doing here? And like, how do you exist? I'm literally on an entirely different spatial dimension than you are. How are you here? That is irrelevant. I'm your second favorite character now. No! Before we hop into this review of chapter 299 of My Hero Academia, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's hop right into it. What's up guys, Like the Pencil here, and here we are to review chapter 299 of My Hero Academia. And it is schmackin'. Now here's the thing, I already liked Hawks. If you remember my tier list ranking all the characters, my man took number 4 easy. He was seriously up there for me. I really liked him a lot, from his design to his character to his everything. However, while we did have a slight little dibble dabble of backstory, a little bit of taste, a little bit of seasoning on the Hawks character, we didn't necessarily have the full meaty heft of the backstory. And while we knew the reason that his real name wasn't known was because his father was a hitman and, you know, the murder and stuff like that, being shown the images of Hawks going through it, like literally going through the suffering of being raised in an abusive household with a mother who doesn't care about him and a father who hates his very existence, and seeing that this poor child had to grow the mental defenses strong enough to know not to talk back and still suffer alongside this terrible situation, only to find out that after all his work his mom did to keep his father out of jail using her quirk and all that stuff like that, to find out that the whole reason he even got caught in the first place is because he was trying to steal a car to escape his wife, or not his wife, his partner in crime that was doing the job for him, only for him to realize that on top of that, his own mother really had no idea what the real world was like, thus couldn't take care of herself on her own, and that led to her suffering and thus him suffering. All this compounded on top of what I already know about Hawks, and seeing how it directly transitions into Hawks being picked up by the Hero Association. It's such a sharp, not necessarily a sharp turn, but it's really good for characterizing what Hawks is, because you would think a lot of Hawks' determination and training and really like his sheer willpower would come from his training that he had at the Hero Association. You'd think they would like burn that into his bones, but no, this is something that Hawks had his entire life, and seeing it come through in this very clear, direct, upfront way, in the sense that Hawks is literally a person who went through so much as a child. It's really sad, and it's the most human backstory out of all these sad backstories that I've seen in My Hero Academia so far. If I had to give it praise for one thing, I have to give it praise for that. And you may say, wait, how are you saying this is more human than Midoriya's? The main issue I have with Midoriya's backstory is that while it does good for the society, it doesn't necessarily do good for like Midoriya himself. It doesn't explain why he is. I think Midoriya's background doesn't necessarily lead to Midoriya, the main character we have today, but I can see 100% how Hawks' background leads 10,000% to the Hawks we have today. And it's amazing how Endeavor, all the way back then when Hawks is literally just a baby, really, like probably like 8 at best, he was still such an inspiration for him, even though Endeavor was the one who apprehended his father. It's the little details like that where you see how much Endeavor has always meant to Hawks, and how much Hawks has always he's always been down bad. He's always been struggling in life. However, he's just never given up, thanks to the power within him, the willpower within him, and the heroes outside in the real world that fight with the evils of the world and go against the grain and do their best. It's great to see how Hawks was forced into this role, but you could see how it was naturally born for him. There's no other hero than Hawks that could be Hawks based off this backstory. I think that's great. This whole backstory is really the biggest reason why he shoots up right past characters like Gentle and All Might for me, because the thing is, Hawks feels so tangible in this chapter. I completely understand every single thing about Hawks through this backstory, and I seriously enjoy it. Now, we're going to move to the middle part of this chapter, where I think it kind of drags a little bit, but I understand the point of this chapter. So obviously, the question with Best Genius was he real? Was he dead? And the, Horikoshi, through his characters, goes to explain that the best genius was put in some death-like trance by some surgery, and somehow he managed to wake up perfectly at the right time, and he somehow managed to escape wherever they were keeping him. Though really, why wouldn't Dabi just burn the body? I don't know. It seems like such a weird little choice to make when it comes to exposition, because like this is literally just two people talking in a car. There's nothing fully interesting for it, and by the time we get to like the Binge Boys and all their mess, they're falterized pretty darn quickly, and that's it. And it's by Best Genius. There's no continuation really of the conversation afterwards. There's just the initial conversation we had, and that's it. And while the initial conversation was okay, it was fine, I still don't think it does enough good for Hawks, because, you know, he's still suffering. But obviously he can't send out his wings en masse, so I understand why he didn't do much, but at the same time, like, darn, it kind of sucks, bro. And the thing is that despite all that, Hawks pushes forward, and after the Binge Boys are defeated, which is literally just a pointless little filler scene to give the drive a little bit more tension and probably fill the 20 pages, we get to the house of Hawks' mother, and it's revealed that, at least by all likelihood, she's the one who sold him out. No hold, no bars. She literally just said, "Ayo, some scary people pulled up to the home. They didn't have to fight me too much. I just took my stuff and left. So deuces, and I'm proud of you." I think the "I'm proud of you" is a lie. I feel like this message is way too neat to be written by someone like that. However, who knows? Maybe I'm nuts, but still, it's cool to see what's here, what's left, and what Hawks is going to be forced to do in this new situation, because as he mentions in this chapter, he's a free bird now. Like, they showed the knocked over bird cage earlier in the chapter to show that while Takumi and his mom were free, they were still hypothetically in a cage, because they freed themselves from a cage that knocked over. One of their legs is broken. However, in the case of this secondary flashback, what we can clearly see is the idea that his mom did love Hawks. Like, that was a thing that she was willing to go out and break the rules of her lover and go get this kid an All Might plushie, until she found out All Might was too expensive, so she went with an Endeavor one. I think it's fine. It's a nice little way to almost back end the chapter and show why Hawks isn't like angry or mad or screaming or anything, because like that's still his mom, and he's still a hero, so he still has to do things to make sure that everyone else is okay. And I can definitely respect that. It's really, really, really good in terms of doing something like this, where one warrior is just, he's a really calm, complacent guy for the most part, but he has this deep darkness within him. I find it so interesting to watch and so interesting to read, and I hope we get more of the darkness within Hawks. And now let's finish off this chapter with how the next chapter is going to be. It's literally just, we're probably hopping to Endeavor now. However, the thing that gets me about this chapter, I still say this is a solid 9 out of 10 chapter. The only thing that really holds it back is like the exposition dump, like the heaviest of expedition dumps. Like, that's things, it's literally just a wall of text, so I can't praise that. But everything else about this chapter I can praise. Hawks' backstory, his final shot, his determination to help Endeavor, all these different things come together to form Hawks the individual being, and I respect that. It's really good to do that with a character that obviously has relevance to the narrative as a whole, especially if he can do things where he needs to end up as a supporting pillar for the #1 hero. That's his new job now. He has to go out there with Best Genius and basically prove Dabi a bold-faced liar, which shouldn't be that hard to do, considering the only piece of irrefutable evidence that is not dead or alive or anything like that is a piece of paper that shows anything that, oh, nothing could possibly happen at all, we promise. But that obviously promise is meant to be broken. I'm intrigued. There isn't much to talk about with this chapter. As much as I do like the intro, my favorite parts about it being the idea that in the end it was Endeavor that did Hawks' dad in, and instead of showing fear or terror on his face, he just showed this big old grin. I really, really like that, because it shows how, despite the negative nurturing of his upbringing, there's still a good person somewhere deep within Hawks. And he cares. He legitimately cares for every single person that he runs into. And that's super impressive for him to do, especially for what kind of character he is, because he stays like that throughout pretty much the entire series, and I find that very, very respectable. And honestly, if I don't necessarily have much to theory craft, because it mainly seems like this next chapter is going to be revolving around the mess that was left behind by Dobby with the whole Dobby reveal. And honestly, there's so little mess to clean up. The only thing they're going to need to prove wrong is the DNA test. But I feel like the Hero Association can fake up some of those real quick, have someone go report and that's wrong, and it's incorrect, and then, you know, we're good to go. That's perfectly fine. But at the moment, I'm just looking really, really impressed with what Horikoshi did here. He took a character that I already liked a lot and maybe like him even more through just simple good character writing, and I love it when Horikoshi does that. He is an amazing author when he needs to be, he's an amazing author when he tries to be most of the time, and usually he hits. And usually he hits regardless, but sometimes he does have duds, and the only dud I'd say that really exists in this chapter is the exposition, all that on top of each other. That's the only thing I have issue with in this entire chapter, and even then it doesn't really last that long. It only lasts about like 3 pages. So I honestly can't wait for next week. Tell me what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section down below. I know this is really, really simple, but honestly there isn't much to discuss, considering it's a very, like, it's a 1, 2, 1. Like, it's the backstory, then the modern, then a little bit more of the backstory, and then the end. So it's a really, really balanced game. A game I honestly can't wait to see play out even more. However, tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think that the next chapter is going to be focused on Endeavor? Do you think that society can recover? Do you think All For One is going to actually keep his word, which he hasn't been doing so far, and not letting the heroes have a day to rest? That's just the questions. And the only other thing I would want to mention is that, you know, the heroes are cowering and running away in fear, but obviously we can tell that's just a flaw in the system. A lot of heroes have legitimate fears of death and stuff like that, and wouldn't mess with the villains, so I'm not even really mad at them. I understand what they're doing. But that's it. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below about this chapter, and thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.